Good morning, wine lovers! Welcome to the Radio Wine Cult Show. Did I say radio? I said radio. I know it's not a radio, but I love my radio. So let me stay with the radio, please. Radio Cult Wine Show. The show that brings the finest Italian wines straight to your home. So what show is this? Well, this is Filippo Bartolotta. I'm your wine host, and you can subscribe to my channel right now if you haven't done it yet. Check me out on my social media. What are we doing in this show? Well, I'm tasting the finest wines of Italy that for a reason or another have become cult. What does it mean? Well, it means that, let me think, that they are utterly delicious. That's when a cult wine becomes so. And when there is an incredible story of the family, where there is a great winemaker, where there is something that happened to that wine, and for a reason or another, as I mentioned before, the wine made it into history. And today we're kicking off with maybe one of the wines that, no, what am I saying? One of the wines? We are starting this show with the revolution of the 20th century. There you go. I said it. With no further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you to Sassicaia. Sassi means stones. Sassicaia is the place of stones. You know, like in Bordeaux, there is Grave. Grave means gravel. It means stones. And that's where this wine was born. Is the label right? There you go. Beautiful star. What is Sassicaia? For those that don't know, Sassicaia is he's the father of all Super Tuscan wines. You know what Super Tuscans are? Super Tuscans is a definition that describes wines that are invented in a place by the fantasy of the winemaker without using any of the rules that apply to the Appellation Contrôlée or the DOCG system. When does Super Tuscan is a new word that comes across when in 1978 there is a major tasting in London. Decanter magazine, the best Cabernet Sauvignon in the planet are put together in a blind tasting. You know what that is? Is when you get the bottle and you just seal it off. So the people like me, people that rate wines, they haven't got a clue what's in the glass. And as a result, you're not going to put down like a high mark just because it's a famous wine. And that is exactly what happened. So guess what? The most famous Cabernet in the world, so Lafite, Latour, Haut-Brion, Mouton, Margaux, the first growth, which is the wines that made Cabernet Sauvignon famous, the wines that are sold in the market for thousands and thousands of euros, okay? Together with the Napa Valley one. Napa Valley that came in the market thanks to the 1976 tasting with Steven Spurrier, one of the greatest wine critics I've ever met. He's actually my mentor when I used to be in London. It was like 99 when I kicked off in this business, tasting wines in the South Bank with Steven. And Steven, back in the days in the 70s, I can see him, man, I can see him with his beautiful, the jeans, I don't know, how do you say, like an elephant, like kind of like jeans, like leather jacket. No, I'm kidding. Steven Spurrier is a man with a suit and tie, no rain or snow, nor heat or whatever. He's always dressed like a perfect British gentleman, as he is. Ciao, Steven, if you ever look at this. And Steven decided to do another blind tasting, getting the most famous French wines, like the same stuff of the 78, versus the American wines. America won, and that's when history was made. So 2 years later, 78, there is Sassicaia, and Sassicaia is awarded with the best Cabernet Sauvignon in the world. There you go. But there was a problem. What was the problem? The problem was that Sassicaia was a vino da tavola. What does it mean? Well, the Italian wine appellation system is based upon a vertical pyramidal system. So at the bottom of this, you have vino da tavola, table wines. You can blend different vintages. You can do basically whatever you want, different regions, it doesn't matter. Then you have IGT, which is like a level above where the grapes must come from a broad region, such as Tuscany or Piemonte, for instance. And then you have DOC, like the Italian Appellation Contrôlée. There is also a geographical system, technical issues that you have to follow, for instance, how much alcohol content and stuff like that. And then DOCG, which is even higher. Well, Sassicaia was the lowest. And yet, man, he just was like a badass. He won versus everyone else. So that's when Super Tuscan came about. Now let's get to the wine. Sassicaia is a blend of Cabernet Sauvignon, 85%, and Cabernet Franc, 15%. It's produced in the Bolgheri region. Bolgheri, where is it? Right on the southwest of Tuscany, on the coastal area, but a little bit above the coast there is this beautiful hilltop. Like when you drive your car south, on the left hand side, so to the right you have the sea, and to the left you have these beautiful hills, like 350 meters above the sea level, and that's where Mario Incisa della Rocchetta started off this dream. Mario was born in 1899 in Rome. In the early 20s and 30s, he started to taste Cabernet Sauvignon style wines like the Bordeaux. Somebody says it was in 1924 Margaux that triggered the passion for that region. And then he started to do some experiments with this Cabernet Sauvignon in the Sassicaia land, Tenuta San Guido. So what's important about Sassicaia is the fact that in between 1942 and 1944, Mario Incisa della Rocchetta puts down the vines of Cab Sauv, Cab Franc in Bolgheri. We are still under Second World War, by the way. And it must be a visionary to do that. Do you know what I'm saying? A total visionary. Because 20 years after, for the first 20 years, he makes wine for himself. And then in 1968 is when the first official label is out there in the market. That is going to be sold. It will be sold in 1972. So there you go. A wine that is actually in 72, a blend of different vintages with 30% of Cabernet Franc. At the beginning, Sassicaia had a lot of Cabernet Franc. Then the wine goes through oak aging, barrique, French barrique, for a couple of years. 1/3 of new oak, and the rest is like a older kind of oak. Now, what do we have to do, guys? We have to taste it, of course. Best moment. Something that I might have not mentioned is that when we have the Radio Cult Wine Show, we taste wines that maybe are going to be on release. Not maybe. Wines that will be released right now. So Sassicaia 2017 is not in the market as yet. What is it like? Let me see. Oh man, I just feel like crying it just brings so much up. This wine is all about red fruit, elegance. Most people say that Super Tuscans are beefed up. Beef here is all about floral, a little bit of tropical aromas, blueberries. There's an incredible complexity of balsamic elements. I feel like I am in a Nabi. It's like in a Nabi of the 11th century. Like it's beautiful. Like these balsamic elements that come through is pretty phenomenal. Some slightly tinge of green, like you expecting from Cab Sauv base wines, but no traces of excessive alcoholic whiff as it could have happened in 2017. Super, super, really hot. Well, that's the fun game of putting together a radio show, that is not a radio show, with Cult Wines of Italy. Sassicaia, am I going to use spit buckets? No, man, I'm not going to use spit buckets. Here is all, you see how much juice? This is all about the juice. For most people, some people say that Sassicaia is too big. Man, how many times have you drank it? Like, just keep drinking. Because this wine is all about drinkability together with complexity. Red fruit, way more red fruit on the palate than you were expecting on the nose. To get floral scents, iodine, sea breeze. And above all, something that is pretty unique when it comes to Cabernet-based wines. Sapidity, almost salty bites right in the end. I'm so surprised about like this elegance. Although this is what Sassicaia is about, elegance and ageability. In 2017, to be honest, it wasn't easy at all. Sassicaia. Last few things that I want to say about this wine. In this case, the wine went through the vineyards of Castiglione, Quercione, and Docino. So you might say, what are you talking about, Filippo? Well, Sassicaia is there is 60 hectares of vines. And when they make wine, when they make Sassicaia, what you're going to be seeing is that they choose the different vineyards. So this is where it comes from the coolest sites of the Tenuta San Guido estate. This is where the famous, for people that love horse rides, like famous Ribot was born. The Italian horse that has won more than anything else in the world. And in 1956 in Ascot, this guy was the king. One last thing about Sassicaia is people think about Cabernet Sauvignon grapes usually are cultivated on Cordon spur, and this is the case as well, but there is no 10 or 12,000 plants per hectare, as you might see like in Bordeaux. Here is like barely 5,000 plants per hectare. Also, the first vines of Sassicaia were Alberello trained. What is Alberello? It's like the bush tree, so no Cordon spur. There is so many more things that I would love to say about Sassicaia, but trust me on this. This ain't gonna be the only episode on Sassicaia, the father of all Super Tuscans, the revolutionary guy, the revolutionary wine that made history. After Sassicaia, everyone started to make a Aya wine. Everyone wants to make a wine that started off from nothing, from total scratch, to redesign history of wine. And as a result today, people that want to make wines like Sassicaia, they say like it's like a super Tuscan style wine, it's like a Sassicaia. So it's a new generation of wines, and whether you like it or not, winemakers and wine lovers either refer to Sassicaia style or something that is opposite to Sassicaia as in terms of modernity. But the one thing that for me is Sassicaia is transparent, bright, beautiful, elegant, and is nothing to do with bodybuilder. This is more of a marathon man, the muscles of a marathon man rather than a bodybuilder. So this is all for the first episode of the Radio Cult Wine Show. From Filippo, arrivederci.